How are we doing, guys? And welcome back to All East TV. This is a match preview of Liverpool versus Leeds United. Guys, I will be back in the studio soon enough. I do keep saying that, but I'm finally getting the studio sorted. I had a bit of issues with light, sound, pretty much everything. Wi-Fi's been poor, so I just thought I'll film from here again. But I did fully intend to film this one from the studio. Again, I keep saying it, but we will get it sorted as soon as possible. So, Liverpool away, Anfield on Wednesday night. For me, the toughest game in world football at this moment in time. It is the toughest game I can think of. I don't think you can get more difficult. I think you've got obviously the atmosphere, the quality of player Liverpool have got, Liverpool's record at Anfield. It's just a very, very difficult place to go. There's no hiding away from that. I think it's a tougher place than City to go to. And look, we know what happened at City earlier in the season, but this is going to be very, very difficult to get anything from this game. And you don't really need me to tell you how good Liverpool are. You only have to look at the forward players, your Salahs, your Manes. Diaz has obviously come in and had a superb start. Diogo Jota might be fit for this game. Defensively, you've got Virgil van Dijk, Fabinho obviously in defensive midfield, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, all these different kind of players of high quality in this Liverpool team. So there's no denying of Liverpool's quality. But in terms of us, that's all we can focus on, ourselves. That's all we can kind of affect is ourselves, making sure we're the best versions of ourselves going into this game, because that's the only way we can possibly get a result from this game. We have to be absolutely bang at it in this game. We've got to be at least at the level we were away at West Ham to get anything from this football match. But in terms of the team selection, now, there's been a lot of talk since yesterday across Twitter, across everything really, and I've seen a lot of talk in terms of that second half of the game against Man United, that that team that finished the second half should be the team that starts the next couple of games. That's something I don't agree with, personally. I don't agree with that view at all, if I'm being totally honest. And in fact, I couldn't really disagree with it more, to be honest with you, going into this game, because for starters, that Man United game, look, the way we fought back from 2-0 down to get it to 2-2, the second half performance was much, much better. The quality, the character was all there to see. I get all that. The fighting spirit was fantastic to see as well. There was no lack of effort in that game. Absolutely nothing like that happened yesterday. I agree with all of that. But we got it back to 2-2. But let's not forget, we still lost the game. Yeah, we still lost this game against Man United. We still conceded 2 goals after we made it 2-2. You know, yes, the second half was better, but we still lost the game. We still conceded 2 goals in that second half. You know, Ronaldo's had 2 really tight offsides as well to possibly make it more than 4-2. So we've got to remember that at the end of the day. As much as the second half was much better, I just don't see a case for starting from the off with that kind of system and shape. I don't see a case for that. Because, look, Liverpool have got high quality. We can't play with just 2 in midfield at Anfield, for me. You know, we can't start a game like that. You know, Liverpool and Man United are 2 very different kind of teams now. You know, maybe if we were playing, no disrespect to him, a Brentford away or a Crystal Palace away, I could probably make a case for starting that team that finished the second half against Man United. But against Liverpool, not for me. Not for me. Certainly considering we still lost the game, I don't really think it should be a foregone conclusion at all, to be totally honest with you. And I look at this game, I'm just looking at my notes down here. Liverpool defends with a very high line. That's the one thing I will say about Liverpool. The one slight question mark about Liverpool is they do defend very high up the pitch, and that's mostly a good thing from a Liverpool point of view, because they keep things very compact. There's not a lot of space between the defence and the front three. It's all very tight together. There's not a lot of space to play through, and it gives them a real basis to then press. But you can catch it out. It is catchable. There was a couple of moments, certainly in the game last season at Anfield, where we did that. I think pretty much every goal we got at Anfield came from us exposing Liverpool's high line. It's not easy to do. It needs a very high quality of pass to do that. It needs a fantastic run, a perfectly timed run to do that as well. So for me, going into this game, I want us to have as much pace as possible on the pitch. And it might seem a very simplistic thing to say, but I'm thinking Dan James against a high line, Jack Harrison against a high line, and Rafinha. I want all 3 of those starting this game, to be totally honest with you. I'm not too fussed about where they play specifically. I just want them starting this game, because I think that's the only way, realistically, from a tactical point of view, I think we can get this at this Liverpool team at this moment in time. And yeah, it's very much margins. This Liverpool team very, very rarely drops points at home, never mind loses at home. So you've got to use all the advantages possible. And for me, that is one of the advantages we have. We have got a lot of pace on the counter and against a team that defends with a high line. So that's my personal view. And of course, the second half against Man United, we actually took Jack Harrison off at half time. But for me, I would be bringing Jack Harrison in. Now, another point I'm going to make about Liverpool. We all know about Liverpool's fullbacks. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, who didn't even play at the weekend, by the way. So they're going to be fresh going into this game. They haven't played for a week. So you're looking at those two. Alexander-Arnold especially, top of the assist charts, one of the most creative players in the whole league. Doesn't matter if he's a fullback, he's factually one of the most creative players in the whole league. Andy Robertson, more of a traditional fullback, but again, fantastic crosser of the ball, relentless attacker. That is something we've got to look at. For me, Jack Harrison is probably our best winger from a tracking back point of view. I think if you give him the job of following Trent Alexander-Arnold, probably out of all our options in those forward areas, he's the one who performs it the best. And look, it might still not be enough. We've got to be clear about that. Alexander-Arnold, Salah, Mane, Robertson, all these players can do stuff that you can't plan for. They can stick it in, into the box from anywhere and land it on one of the centre backs. It's not a problem to them. That it doesn't matter how much pressure you put on the ball. There's just certain things they can do that you can't do anything about. But we've got to give ourselves, the theme of this game is we've got to give ourselves the maximum chance possible. And for me, we've got to be able to track the fullbacks and we've got to have that pace on the counter if we do win the ball back to catch the fullbacks out with the speed and the high line, and etc., etc. So that's two very, very key things for me. So I'm very much not of the opinion that we should start the game anything like the way we finished against Man United. Because, look, those 20 minutes were absolutely outstanding yesterday when we got it to 2-2. I thought we were going to win the game. I honestly did think we were going to win the game at 2-2. I thought Man United was starting to crumble. Again, that wasn't the case. But it felt like that. It felt like we were the team that was going to go on to win that game at that moment in time. But the thing is, the game settles after those 20 minutes. The game started to settle, slow down a little bit naturally. Pogba started to put his foot on the ball. They made the substitution of Fred coming on. The game started to slow down a little bit. And all of a sudden, you've kind of got a midfield with no natural holding midfielder in there, with obviously Robin Koch going off. You've got a very attack-minded front four. You've got certainly one very attacking fullback in terms of Junior Firpo, who I thought was outstanding when he came on, but he's very attack-minded. Defensively, I personally don't think Junior Firpo is as good as Stuart Dallas at left-back, but he's a different kind of left-back. I'm not criticising Junior Firpo, I'm just saying, in terms of getting ourselves back into that game at 2-0 down, Firpo was a very, very good substitution because he did massively help that. But when it got to 2-2, we were a little bit too attacking. I'm not criticising Bielsa for that because we had to get ourselves back in the game. But we can't be that attacking going to Anfield. I just think it's a very... I don't think we will either. I can't see us going with a midfield two of Forshaw and 𝐾𝐿. I think we will have someone else in there as well. And one of 𝐾𝐿 or Forshaw will push up the pitch for me. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, I don't think we can afford to be too attack-minded. And that might seem a very negative thing to say, very anti-Bielsa thing to say, but let's not forget the way we started this game. It might seem absolutely crazy to say it after the Man United game, but it was a very tight first 30 minutes against Man United. I've got the stats here. The first 30 minutes, we had 2 shots. Man United had 3 shots, 50% possession each. It was a tight first 30 minutes. People forget, we went with a midfield 3 of Koch, Forshaw, 𝐾𝐿. That's not very Bielsa-like. Certainly in terms of how we've previously approached these big games, it's not very Bielsa-like to do that at all. So that was surprising. But let's not forget, those first 30 minutes were very compact and tight in terms of very difficult for Man United to play through. But as soon as that first goal went in, and it was a set piece, let's remember, it was a set piece as well. There's not, you can talk about how we defended the set piece and all different bits and pieces like that. But the thing is, when we do, just distracted there a little bit. When you do concede that first goal, the game plan becomes very different then. We made those substitutions at half time. And that's the thing, you've got to remember we were very compact and tight in that first 30 minutes against Man United. We didn't give them any space between the lines. They get the first goal from a set piece, the first real chance I can remember from a set piece as well. And that's the thing we've got to remember. Again, against these top quality teams, they have moments in them. The set piece, that was a moment in them. Good delivery off Bruno Fernandes, whoever it was. You're going to get a similar thing with Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I'm talking a lot about the Man United game, but there's a lot of things from that Man United game that I think we'll take going into this Liverpool game. And for me, that second half certainly isn't one of them in terms of how we should approach this game. Very, very different at 0-0. Now, don't get me wrong now. Don't get me wrong. If we do go 1-0 down against Liverpool, I am all in favour of going back to that front four that finished the game against Man United. 100%. J.K. Galeheart, from Liverpool as well. It'd be a real special moment for him going to Anfield. And I'd massively fancy him to really show up, in that kind of game, in that kind of environment, because he has done every single time he's played for Leeds United. But yeah, the big question is, do we go defensive or do we go on the attack? I don't think it has to be an either or. I really, 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 really don't think it has to be an either or, because it wasn't yesterday that Man United scoring. As I said, first 30 minutes, it was very, very tight. The midfield three, a very, very, very hard-working midfield three. So you've got to look at things like that for me. And that, for me, that's how I think we probably approach this game, in all honesty. But if they score, if we do go 1-0 down, if we're struggling in the game, by all means, let's go more attacking. But let's not play it into Liverpool's hands from the first whistle, for me, which is going too much for it. And not having that cover for the full-back areas when Alexander-Arnold and Robertson overlap, or Mane and Salah tuck inside, all these different things that Liverpool can do against teams. But that's my opinion on it anyway, guys. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there anyway, guys. So you've got myself. I think Jack's going to do a pre-match preview as well. I'm going to do something called a lineup predictor, and we've got a fantastic opposition preview planned as well, guys. So I'm going to leave it there anyway. I've been 𝐘𝐔𝐅𝐂. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and we will see you later. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already. See you later, guys.